Gentlemen, very warm welcome to each one of you for our another edition of live webinar. As you are all aware, since the time lockdown was declared on the 25th of March, we have been connecting with you constantly, engaging with you from morning till evening. Idea is to keep you engaging so that you follow the social distancing. Not only you follow the social distancing, you are also intellectually enriching for you. So our idea is to give you a bouquet of events every day from morning till evening. We start every day with yoga. That there's break. We'll be restarting again from 8 o'clock every day in the morning. We are giving you a live quiz, which has become very popular. Lots of people are logging in, and I think this quizzing is one really catch up the imagination of large number of our people who are joining us. Then every morning 11 o'clock we have a talk like the one we are going to have it today. Some outstanding speakers on the very subject which is relevant to the present economic scenario, present scenario in society. We bring it every day. Thereafter, at 1 o'clock, we send you a very good article for you to read every day, fresh article of the thought leaders by the thought leaders. At 2 to 5 o'clock every day, we conduct a number of certificate courses, workshops for you, some free, some nominally very reasonably priced one. Then again, 6 o'clock in the evening, we bring you a very high profile speaker, which I'll be sharing with you. Till third, we already planned speakers for every day. And the evening, we also share with you business puzzle and number of things. Idea is to keep you engaged continuously. Please share your videos, please share your thoughts, your feedback, which are very important to us. I also now take the opportunity to welcome large number of viewers who have joined us from number of organizations like Prime Point Srinivas Jair, and from cybersecurity Rajendran, from Manu, from I see a lot of them. Each one of them, my personal invitation to each one of you. It's a pleasure to have you with us. And also viewers watching this program live on YouTube, live on Facebook, and live on webinar. And you are going to have a feast of time. I can assure you that we have got some outstanding two speakers who are going to share with you data on the run, cybersecurity issues and challenges. Before we move on to the session, let me briefly tell you what's in store for you in MMA next few days. Like tomorrow at 6 p.m., we're having a musical webinar. We thought not only we do everyday talks, we also want music for mindfulness. There will be a complete musical session, people live singing with some outstanding singers. G.D. Sharma, it's a principal concerned Beeline, will be leading the whole thing, and along with the panel of singers will be scholar Unni Nair. Many of you know them, great singer, and Geeta Jayaraman and Ramakrishnan. Please do join at 2 o'clock, 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. Then 29th the morning, 9 o'clock, we have an exclusive program for management students. Mr. Manu Ora from Chicago is joining us to take the students through how they plan their career during the difficult times, and also campus corporate. And we are engaged more than 40 university, 40 educational institutions as partners. We expect 4,000 to 5,000 management students to listen to this program. It is happening at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. If you are interested, that any of your students community is interested, please log in. The login details are same which you use every day, not on Zoom, other links actually. We got a webinar, we got YouTube. So please encourage all your students to watch this program. I think it will be very inspiring, because the gentleman we're going to talk to us from Chicago is an outstanding personality, and who has done more than 40 years in this field. So he will give international, national perspective under a difficult time, how the students to move forward. Then we got in the evening very interesting outstanding talk on geopolitical and geoeconomic consequences of COVID-19. This is a talk by Mr. M.K. Narayanan. You all know M.K. Narayanan. He's a former National Security Advisor and former Governor of West Bengal. And Mr. Ash V. Pant, he is the Head of Strategy Studies, ORF, New Delhi. We'll be in conversation with him. It's going to be another fantastic event, because two thought leaders sharing what's happening geopolitically, geoeconomically, very essential for each one of us to understand to move forward. Then on 30th April, 11 o'clock, we have COVID-19, the way forward for banking. Again, we are bringing in each of the sectors. This session, we're going to have Mr. Sheshai, who is the Vice Chairman of Hinduja Group, will be there. Along with him, Mr. Kamakodi, who is the Managing Director and CEO of City Union Bank, is joining us for the discussion. And the discussion will be led by Mr. Viswanathan of Industrial Economics. They are our knowledge partner for the event. At 6 p.m., again, we thought every time we bringing you all professional subject, we are bringing a Swami Nikhil Dasaranji from Ramakrishna at Rajkot. He's going to talk to us on COVID and how to manage your stress during these difficult times. He's one of the almost TEDx speaker. He's on YouTube, and he's one of the fantastic speakers who has agreed to speak to us from Rajkot, Gujarat. Please do tune in and listen to him, and at least learn some lessons from how to manage your stress, not only COVID and other time. Then on the 1st of May at 11 o'clock, we have another event, which is by Mr. Sarvan Subramaniam of MD of Roche Diagnostics, and Aarti Shivanand will be in conversation with him, partner of J Saga, we want something in what's happening in medical field. This is happening on the 1st May at 11 o'clock. At 1st May 6 p.m. again we have an excellent event, marketing for the future. We have only our own Mr. C.K. Ranganathan, founder of Kevin Care, who is going to be talking to us, and Mr. David Appasamy, who is the head of brand strategy, social media, is going to be in conversation with him. Again, I think difficult time to understand how the marketing whole look is going to be changed, and you can learn some few lessons from the wisdom of Mr. C.K. Ranganathan. Tune in on the 1st May at 6 o'clock. On 2nd May, again, we have interesting event, success story, how it was done by Mr. Bharat Bala. Bharat Bala is a screenwriter, producer, director, was produced some fantastic, inspiring films like Vande Mataram. So we want to ask him what made him inspire people through his movies, and along with him, we have got also Aishwarya Manivannan, who is a world film champion. They are going to talk to us, and because the recent production was World 3000 Silambam Success, what is the recent production. And the last one is the 3rd May, the end of the day. I hope that's going to be the end of the day, lockdown day. COVID-19 impact on Indian politics, because we also want to know after geo-economic thing, what is going to happen, center-state relationship in terms of federalism, in terms of regional powers, in terms of political leaders elected, how they have to take it forward, in terms of social distancing, how is going to have a political gathering, and all that we are going to discuss this. We have got some outstanding panelists, Maafai Pandeyarajan, the minister from Tamil Nadu, is joining us. Palnivel is also one of the MLAs from Chennai. Palnivel Tyagarajan is another person who will be joining. And we also have privileged to get Mr. M.R. Chandran, who is a member of parliament from Kollam, Kerala, and Mr. Prime Point Srinivasan, who all you know, he's been very actively involved in Sansat Ratna Awards and number of other initiatives he does. Even today's initiative is one of the thoughts given by Mr. Prime Point Srinivasan, who really suggested Navi and Ritesh to take it forward. That's why we are all there. So this is what is there. We're coming to today's event. You all know what's happening, and the topic is data on the run, cybersecurity issues and challenges. Why we chose this topic? This is one thing which has been disturbing each one of us. I keep hearing so much of news. Cyber is not only a one-time event, actually. It's a once block, cyber crime, continue to be swiftly engaged another one, more sophisticated means entry. And what we also understood is cyber security has more implication to the nations, not only thing, the whole world. I believe $5.2 trillion is going to be impacted next 5 years because of cyber attacks and cyber crimes. The cost of investigating the frauds are much, much more than cost of containing it. Average time it takes to identify the breach, I believe, as for the data, is 196 days. We have got experts who are going to be taking through more on this, and what consolidates cyber crime, and all about cyber security and cyber security issues. All the more when you are going to be working more data. Earlier we had a lot of global connectivity. Today most of the things will happen data, because I read somewhere where it's very clear, attacker has to be right only once, whereas we have to be right all the time. Keeping this in mind, we are organizing this excellent event this morning for you, and we already have plenty of questions that clearly indicate how much of interest people have on the subject. Let me have the privilege of introducing Mr. Two outstanding panelists who are going to be there. The format of the event is that both the panelists will share their perspective for about 4 to 5 minutes. Thereafter, we have number of questions related to the domain we have come. We'll be asking them. They'll be answering the questions. If you have questions, please do share. Let me introduce the privilege of Navi. Navi is a cyber law and technological information specialist. And Navi Vijay, normally called as, popularly known as Navi, is a pioneer in the field of cyber law in India and is an expert in data protection. Navi has founded WW Navi and also a cyber law college. And Navi is a visiting faculty in number of leading education institutions, major institutions in the country, and is author of the very famous book, Personal Data Protection, The Art of India, Act of India, PDPA 2000, which is the object, is also our, the objective is be aware, be ready, and be compliant. That is what is the objective of that. And Navi is also done a number of other initiatives in this, and is also a specialist in, also founded the Foundation for Data Protection Professionals in India. Navi is also an architect of personal data protection standards, which Indian companies, for the Indian companies, which they, most of them follow that to ensure compliancy and also efficiency in that. Navi is also a well-known NetZen activist, and a very warm privilege to have you, Mr. Navi, on board, and a very warm welcome to you, sir. We also have other panelists with us, Mr. Ritesh Bhatia. Ritesh Bhatia is a well-known and cybercrime investigator, cyber security, data privacy consultant, over 20 years of experience. He's acumen in starting out a number of claims, especially in a WhatsApp group, which he recently busted. It made him very, very known. It's been widely acknowledged for that. We'll hear from him later by the not only by the Indian police, but also by the Interpol. And is also part of the MTV award-winning series MTV Troll Police, and is also regular speaker, TEDx speaker, number of forums related to cyber crimes, and he is also new age cyber crimes. He talks on dark web, mobile security, data privacy, cyber security preventive, and as I mentioned, he is also a regular TEDx speaker. Gentlemen, you know, we have got two outstanding specialists in the field of cybersecurity going to deal with us. As I mentioned, we are going to be, each one of them will share about 5 minutes their perspective. Then it will be asking questions. Will think. Now, may I request you, Navi, please welcome to go ahead and share your perspective, sir. Mr. Navi.
Good morning, friends. It's a privilege to be with MMA Chennai and all the participants who are directly here on the Zoom session, as well as the number of people who would be there in YouTube channel as well as the Facebook channel. I am happy to join along with Mr. Ritesh Bhatia as part of our Foundation of Data Protection Professionals in India to share with you some of our thoughts. So just to set the context of what I would like to do, when we talk of cyber threats, particularly related to the data, Captain Vijay Kumar has given us a very interesting topic to look at data in the perspective of cyber threats. So when we look at these cyber threats, the objective of our session today is, of course, to perhaps identify what are the kind of cyber threats which are there around us, but also to look at a strategy for mitigation of the cyber threats. After all, we are talking to MMA, and MMA is the management body, so most of the people will be interested in how to mitigate these cyber threats and the risks arising out of that. So we will look at that strategy for mitigation to some extent. And lastly, we would like to give some thought to the remedial measures to which every one of us has to contribute. So these are the three things, the threats, what are the threats, and then the strategies for mitigation and the remedial measures. These are the things I would like to look at. Now, when we look at threats, we have one kind of threats which are common. You can say it's a malware related thing, so virus, Trojans, ransomware, phishing, and today we are talking of deep fake, deep nude. We also have the cyber warfare, cyber terrorism. That is one set of threats, details of which I'm sure Ritesh will be talking about it. I don't want to go much into the individual incidents. The second set of threats which I would like to perhaps give a little insight is the industry-related threats, like the zero-day vulnerabilities and the threats which come because of the negligence of intermediaries. The intermediaries are all corporate entities. So that is one set of threats I would like to look at. And lastly, the society-related threats, like the so-called dark web, the Bitcoin, then the attitude of people, both the ordinary people who claim to be victims of cyber threats, as well as the security professionals who are partly trying to prevent cyber crimes, but it is always a part of the security professionals who cross the line and become unethical hackers. So the attitude of people and the negligence and greed which happens. So this is the broad canvas of threats I would like to look at. And when we look at strategy for mitigation, I would not like to restrict to technology tools like the firewalls, the DLP or antivirus kind of a thing. We have to look at how law can also mitigate the threats and how the behavioral changes which we can bring about in our workforce could lead to mitigation of the risk. So if you look at tasks ahead in terms of remedy, I feel we have a big task in attacking the dark web, which is the foundation of all our problems. This dark web is being funded and fueled by so-called Bitcoins, so we have to attack that. We have to also educate the software vendors who are responsible for releasing software with zero-day vulnerabilities, and we have to make intermediaries more responsible, and then try to see how we can change the attitude towards crimes, towards criminals, and reducing the silent supporters who are there in the community who take a soft attitude to cyber crimes. So this is what I would like to address. I'm sure most of it will come through the questions. So with this introductory thought, I would like Ritesh to perhaps give his introductory remarks.
Yes, Mr. Ritesh, please go.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Navi, sir. And thank you to MMA for having me over here. It's really a pleasure. And thank you, participants, for being over here in the morning. So, you know, as a cybercrime investigator, I would like to, and as a cybersecurity consultant, I would like to focus upon like what are the trending cyber crimes that are happening. That also we can do it in 3 parts. Like I can divide into something that's related a lot to the individuals, because I get a lot of cases. Like right now, the sextortion scam is like really alarming. People have become depressed. There have been people who've been suicidal. So maybe I would like to throw light upon that. Then there are what are the current cyber crimes related to corporates or businesses. And like rightly pointed out by Navi sir, that you know it's just not the tools, but it is also law that can handle. So while he will talk about the law, I would want to restrict myself not to the tools but the individuals as to what we as individuals can do. And same thing for the third part, that is society. So when we talk about fake news, we talk about rumors, we talk about the dark web, you know, and all such kind of things. So again, over there, as individuals, what we can do. So I would also want to take a backseat today as far as tools is concerned, because I also understand we all are not like from the tech background. So let's leave it to the techies to handle the tools. Ultimately, you know, in whatever conferences we go, whatever we talk, I have seen one common ending statement by all. Yeah, but human awareness or employee awareness is the most. So if everything is so dependent on individuals, then why are we buying tools worth crores of rupees? So rather, let's spend time in educating ourselves, we the individuals. Over to you, Captain.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate my panelists. You have been so brief that clearly give us lots of time for lots of questions which has come to us. So let's go to the first question, sir. We heard about some examples of cyber threats. Given the rapid movement of the society toward digitization, what should be the approach to remove these cyber threats? I will request Navi to answer. Thereafter, please, you also share your views on this question, please. More to Mr. Navi.
See, first of all, when we talk of cyber threats, immediately our thought goes to the threats coming from the internet space. But actually, in India, whenever we look at cyber crimes, we have not distinguished between internet crimes and crimes related to a corporate network or even a single computer, and also mobiles and now the various kinds of devices. We have always looked at cyber threats as threats arising out of the use of electronic documents. So whenever an electronic document is the tool of a crime or a target of the crime, we identify that as a cyber crime, and we look at how did it originate, which means that that's why we have to start with the hardware and software which we use. That is the fundamental, you can say, place where threats arise. We have got what is called Manchurian chips. Say in the OEM equipments of our laptops or mobiles, or in the operating systems, there could be vulnerabilities. So first cyber threat comes from our own devices, which we confidently buy, when particularly if it is supplied from China, we never know what will be there, where they're inside the chips. I'm talking of chip level issues, which common people have no way of identifying and addressing. The next level comes the data which we handle and the problems like this phishing and ransomware kind of thing. So the first task for us is to understand the scope of cyber threats and how they originate from within the systems which we use, the software and data which we use, and then the people who are all our own you can say employees, and sometimes it is the CEOs who are obviously negligent and click on some incoming email and therefore allow a particular malware to get inside the network. So, and then when it comes to the remedial action, the management sometimes look at cost effectiveness of security and they compromise on the security without understanding the risk. See, information security people make a risk assessment. When they make a risk assessment, they know that every mitigation costs money. So management people sometimes, in prioritizing the cybersecurity, they often are not able to appreciate the extent of risk which could arise out of a simple, let us say, a compromise of, say, a software which is available as a paid version or something which is available for free download from dark web. Somebody may say, why don't you go for this free download? Why should we spend money? So that kind of compromise of, cost, because the management or the CFOs may not be aware of the risks, is one of the kind of threats which managements need to worry about. So that is my initial remark. If Ritesh has got anything more, he can add.
No, I think
Yes,
this much is
please
enough. I would want to go more for the other questions which are more specific, because this is an open thing. I mean, this was very general related to threats, which Navi sir has explained quite well. So I would want to skip this and go for more specific, like wherein a user can like literally go and apply.
Yes, we'll come back to you on this. We all got some very good technical questions lined up for you. So I'm going step by step. What is the meaning of reasonable security practices that we come across in terms of Information Technology Act 2000? Would you like to say, so that large number of viewers are not really thinking, they want to know what exactly you mean by reasonableness?
Yeah, Ritesh, you want to attempt that?
Yes.
I'll come back.
Yes. Okay. So I will go for whether it's reasonable or not so reasonable, what we people should implement as security practices, because we cannot just, Navi sir would want to throw light upon that just by putting up reasonable security practices. You can just say, okay, bye. I am done with it. No, that may be from the law point of view and evading certain penalties. But otherwise also, first, let's look at as an individual, what is a reasonable security, or what is, I would replace the name with reasonable security as a common sense security. What is that I would want to do? Like, for example, let's start with a small device, which we have, a smartphone. Now, to my surprise, I know many people who come to me and they don't even have a screen lock. So this is what I would say, where is the common sense security over here? You need to have a screen lock. Now, many people have a face recognition. I would rather prefer the fingerprint, because even if you see the face recognition, it's like really easy. Like, my son would just come, take the mobile from me and go over there. And then that fraction of seconds it opens up. So we need to understand that. So this is not something that needs to be taught. These are things that need to be experimented. And these are also things that you need to understand. Okay, if I'm having a face recognition, what can happen as such? Many times you will have observed, I'm speaking right now to face recognition thing, that even if the phone is on the side and you go to pick up a pen, the phone gets unlocked. So just try to relate it with what risk it can have. Secondly, now let's look at the kind of things as far as the passwords are concerned. Here, how many of the 58 participants actually bothered to go and change the IP address, the username and the password, okay, of the Wi-Fi routers that we have at home? Now that we are working from home, all the Wi-Fi routers are all on the time, all the time. Anyway, they used to be on all the time also. But these practices are extremely important, because at least if you have a D-Link, let me tell you, I can stand outside your house, try to connect it over there, because you might have given a password or something, and then I can get into your router. This is very simple. People like you and me can do it. We don't need hackers for it. So here comes another reasonable security. Here, what you would say would be a reasonable security, that I have a strong password for my Wi-Fi. No. A good security measure would be that you change the IP address of the router, you change the default password of the router also. And then you have a very strong password, because most of us also have like mobile numbers as the WPA2 password over there. No, we cannot. Coming third, let's say now I move from the mobile security to the Wi-Fi security, and now I come to my social media accounts. Every day there are attempts of our social media, to hack the social media. Have we implemented two-factor authentication? No. Personally, I feel a password is a very old thing. It has to be a passphrase plus a two-factor authentication. Allow me 30 seconds to explain what is a passphrase. A password would be something like turkey. It would be something like paper. But a passphrase would be the sky is blue. Okay, so now you take the sky is blue, add, make S capital, K capital, and add an @ or something. But, South Indians have one additional advantage. Your mother tongue is something that's very difficult for us, at least. And so use it in your mother tongue. Create a passphrase in a mother tongue. Like, for example, if I have to use one, I would say, shakkar meetha hai, and make and that would be my passphrase. And of course, have a two-factor authentication also. So, but still somebody will be able to read, shakkar meetha hai, and make sense out of it. But, with the South Indian languages, I wouldn't even understand what it is. So that is one advantage. So please use this. You really have this kind of an advantage. Use this. Of course, Gujaratis and many other people also do have, but those are the dialects that we can still understand as such. So these would be the few practices I would say. I wouldn't want to use the word reasonable, but from law point of view, Navi sir can take it ahead.
See, this word reasonable.
Yeah, Navi would like to add, yes. Navi, go ahead, please.
See, this word reasonable security practice today has got a very important legal, you can say, significance. Because Information Technology Act, when it was amended in 2008, introduced a section called 43(a) and said that if any company is processing sensitive personal data, they are mandated to follow certain security practices, failing which they will be liable to take the responsibility. This is in terms of financial loss, which a user of that information may suffer, or the owner of the information may suffer. In fact, this is what I was talking about, this intermediary liability. That is, a company which handles the personal data of somebody else is the intermediary. And that intermediary, the law expects, should undertake certain responsibilities in processing the information. Security is one aspect. And to what extent security has to be given, that is the question of reasonable security. But law sometimes what it happens is it doesn't give a checklist approach. It uses this generic terms called reasonable and leaves it to the industry to define what is reasonable in a given context. So if you think there are certain security frameworks, you adopt that, yes, it may be considered as a baseline security, a reasonable security, but ultimately law will always look at the context. On a case-to-case basis, it will determine what is reasonable. For example, Professor Narayanan has asked one question about the use of Zoom. We are on Zoom today. So first of all, what is the reasonable security which which includes MMA, has to have? Of course, there have been a lot of discussions on Zoom elsewhere. So there's a lot of concern and fear about the use of Zoom. But Zoom is again a tool. And see, suppose I have opened a particular meeting today, I may say no password, then perhaps anybody can enter with a particular ID. If I have the password, if the password I publish on my Facebook, again, we are keeping it open. So entry to the Zoom is restricted by password. Now it has been made default. I think after these controversies came, Zoom actually made it mandatory to have the password. So if you don't control that password, then obviously anybody can walk into your room. It is like keeping your doors open when you are having a meeting in the office. So once they come inside, now it's quite possible that when I am speaking, somebody else may share their screen and may not only listen to what we are doing, but also perhaps vandalize the system. So that is the one kind of risk which has been highlighted in many of the instances. The second kind of risk which was highlighted by the recent debates was whether the Zoom data is going into China. So we know that most of our mobiles, if you are using any Chinese mobile, probably your data is going to China. Okay, what Zoom has been doing, of course, Zoom is promoted by a Chinese, a person of Chinese origin, but after he moved into USA and started a company, I'm not sure whether the Chinese government is still exercising full control over this gentleman. Unlike many other telecom companies which are today operating from China, where they're contractually bound to share the data with the Chinese government. Despite that, a person of Chinese origin being the promoter, it did raise the concern. And there was one provision in the Zoom activity that a Chinese server can be used for routing the data. So people had some kind of issue on that. But now Zoom has given you an option about that also. You can avoid that. So as of now, it appears that Zoom is as secure as any other meeting place. And if you are having confidential meeting, please lock the room after you start so that nobody will walk in. So there are certain kind of security which is there. Of course, there is also a discussion of technical nature on whether there is end-to-end security, as against VPN security. But people like us, as of today, feel that Zoom is not that unsafe as to be afraid of. Okay, so that is that's a reasonable security. Reasonable security is having a password, etc. So that is one of the aspects. Very important for companies to determine what is reasonable security, because if you are proved not to have used a reasonable security, Ritesh was talking about passwords. See, Indian law recognizes digital signatures as the only way of authenticating an electronic document. But you go ahead and use passwords. That is your choice. That is, you are using a less secure system for access. And tomorrow, if things go wrong and if a court says that you did not have reasonable security, you have to face that. We are having OTP system. USA and all have degraded the OTP system as unreliable, but we are still using it as, of course, it's an improvement over not using OTP system. So the question is whether that is reasonable. This reasonableness is a moving target. It keeps on moving ahead. So every corporate has to keep in place the environment. For example, we are talking of ransomware. Today, we have a big company in India facing the ransomware issues. This happened 2-3 years back when WannaCry ransomware came. So at that time itself, this risk was highlighted. Now again, it has come, and the ransomware has come in a new kind of avatar, where it not only encrypts the data and asks you to pay ransom by way of bitcoins, it also threatens to release the personal data or sensitive data in the public, so that a GDPR authority can give you $100 million fine, as against the $6 million US dollars the particular ransomware person is asking. So they are actually enhancing the risk. But if you ask me as a security professional, we knew ransomware can happen. How does it happen? Because somebody clicks some malware somewhere, and now in the work from home situation, if people are using home computers, the malware could have entered from anywhere there. So the moment I decided to start using work from home, I should have been open to the possibility of this. If I have not done, that is one of the negligence. So when we talk of reasonable security, here is an example of what was perhaps not reasonable. So that is the kind of interpretation we have to come to.
Super, sir. Because I've been bombarded with Zoom, what's happening, and also what happened. We are taking a lot of precaution based on the advice from experts like you. So we take a lot of people live webinar, live on YouTube, so that they don't get hassle joining Zoom. And only thing is they can send the question. Excellent insight, sir. I'm quite sure viewers watching this program will give them a lot of confidence. But what Ritesh told me yesterday when we had a brief chat, he said, so when you use Zoom, you have to be careful. He mentioned when you change yourself in the balcony, you must take precaution to see that neighbors don't see. I think that's a very good analogy, Ritesh, what you said.
I actually said you cannot complain if you're going to go in the balcony and change clothes that the world is watching.
I am modified to be very decent. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
since we are talking about Zoom, just let me
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
allow
Please
me,
go ahead.
yeah, few minutes to tell the viewers that all those parents who are being hassled, okay, that the children are not safe and all, please understand the teachers. Neither the teachers nor MMA right now. We are not discussing any kind of, a nuclear trade secrets. Neither we are talking about assassinating somebody. So there is nothing to worry about. So even if I'm saying for some reason, even if right now this session is going to China and somebody is hearing it, how does it matter? What was happening was Zoom bombing, which means the invites were open to everybody. Okay, somebody would come inside and he would start sharing his screen, which would have pornographic material over there. Now, whose fault is this? This is not a fault of Zoom. This is not a fault of the person who came in. You opened your door and you say, oh, the robber shouldn't come in. This is not fair. We, the moderators, or we, the ones who have initiated the meeting, need to make sure that the participants cannot share. The participants are on a mute mode. So these basic, what we call as reasonable, should be implemented. So something like this, and now these have already been provided. So the security by design is taking care of, it has taken care of it. It's just that we need to understand. Tomorrow, if a new something like a drone, if I have to give you a drone, okay, you just cannot say, I am going to go and start flying it. No, you need to understand how it works, what are the laws, how do we make sure that it's not hacked and other things, and then we start flying it. So, any new app or any new product, whether it's tangible or intangible, we need to understand that security has to be first.
Excellent, sir. I wish the Zoom people are hearing this conversation so that they bring in some CBM, we call it confidence building measures. Thanks, great insight. I think people will be more comfortable now to use Zoom. So my next question is, we understand that India is considering a new law for personal data protection. Can you elaborate why do we need a new law when IT 2000 is already in place? Why is this more laws and more confusion? Maybe you'll be able to throw some light on this.
Yeah, I will take that, Ritesh. Okay.
Yes.
Definitely, multiplicity of laws adds to the woes of the industry, because instead of focusing on what they have to manufacture and produce, they have to look behind their backs. But what has happened is the personal data has become something very important for the people to look at. See, Information Technology Act tries to protect all data of the company and says that if data is not properly handled, there is a contravention, there is a crime, there is 3 years punishment, so much of fine, etc. So it addresses the issue of securing the entire data. But still, this personal data became a problem because the Indian judiciary thought that there is something called privacy protection which has to be given to the citizens of India as a fundamental right. And to provide that privacy protection, if personal data is being moved around in information form, then the choice should be given to the data principle. We call in India the person data principle, others call him as data subject. So the Supreme Court says that we should give a choice to this data principle to tell whomsoever is the person who is handling his personal data on how he should handle that data, how he can use it. He has to say, this is the amount of data I'm giving you, use it only for this purpose, don't use it for another purpose, don't retain it beyond a particular point of time. This kind of choice, law wants it to be given to the data principle. Therefore, handling of personal data has become like in an industry situation, handling of hazardous raw materials. See, you can say that you have got inventory management system, it takes care of all inventory, whether it is a can of explosives or a steel rod. But when you come to securing this can of explosives, perhaps you require a little more expertise and attention. Similarly, this personal data has become an explosive material in the data world. And because any mishandling of this will immediately result in the lack of privacy right protection, the government, the judiciary wanted the government to make a law, and the government of India has, after Sri Krishna committee recommendation and other things, come up with a certain kind of legislation, which is currently in the form of a bill called Personal Data Protection Bill 2019. We hope it will become PDPA 2020 sometime later. And why this has made a lot of difference to companies is that so far companies were only worried about cyber crimes when somebody has suffered a loss, then the act would come in. In PDPA, the entire law is towards compliance, proactive compliance of certain measures to prevent occurrence of some damage to the personal data. Therefore, penalties could be imposed on companies even when no data breach has happened, and the penalties could go up to 4% of the global turnover of the company. So a company which is today worried about loss of data, which they can always recover from their backup, if their DRP system is very good, I can say, you do whatever with my main database, give me 5 minutes, I will restore the data. But with the advent of PDPA, even for 1 minute, if you have compromised the security of personal data, then somebody called Data Protection Authority will be sitting on your back and asking you whether I can put 100 million US dollars fine. So that way, PDPA is a new legislation meant to protect the privacy of an individual. It tries to address the special provisions required to protect personal data, and it is very, very stringent in terms of civil liabilities. It doesn't do much on criminal penalties. That will again go back to the 88-2000. But companies will have to worry about the financial loss they may suffer in case of any data breach which may happen, or even non-compliance. Like if you don't appoint a data protection officer, there can be a fine. If you don't conduct an audit, there can be a fine. You cannot argue with the DPA and say that nothing has happened, so why do you want to put a fine? Because that is the law. So law has moved towards, instead of punishing after the event, it is moving towards bringing in greater responsibility for the intermediaries by asking them to have proactive measures of reasonable securities, and otherwise punish them at that stage itself. I think it is the way law has moved upwards towards regulating the system before an adverse event happens. So that is PDPA.
Great, sir. In continuing, I have a question from Mr. Ritesh. In terms of technical aspects, does personal data protection requires only different approach from whatever information security measures companies are today taking? For example, if a company is an ISO 27001 certified, will it also be deemed to have been compliant under PDPA? This is a complex questions happening every time.
No. You cannot say that if it is, there are no such things that has been prescribed in the act that if you have done this, you are compliant. You know, there is a lot of things that need to do. For example, you need to form a team and understand what all your data is and where it is, and then how are you going to protect it. So there can be certain standards which Navi sir can explain that what are those standards that can help you achieve that. But in spite of that also, it's very important that we as companies, like, you know, I want to tell the audience that we as organizations, we should now start understanding basically the concept of data minimization and privacy by design. So data minimization is now whatever, firstly collect, you know, as less as data as you can, and then whatever extra data you already have in your company. Let's say, you know, if you're a website developer and you have created something for an admissions, an admission portal for let's say an MBA institute, and you're having lots of data, including the payment details and everything, and that project is over, please hand it over. Do not keep any such data. So these things are there. Secondly, when you're coming up with a new product, let's say, you know, you have tied up with some vendor and you're making a new application or anything, ensure there is privacy by design and privacy by default. So focus on these things. Like, for example, what could these mean? Like, you know, when you make a post on Facebook, okay, and if it goes by default, it is going to public. That's not a good way. By default, it should be to private friends only, that whatever post I'm making. So such things should be there by default. So these are the things. And more importantly, as Navi sir rightly said, we need to understand, we need to respect Now we need to start respecting the privacy of other individuals. See, we as a country, we as a nation, we've been a community which has always been sharing a lot of information with our neighbors and relatives and friends and everyone. You know, you go inside a train and within like minutes, you're like best friends and you share a lot of information. This is not really the culture somewhere else. But now in the cyberspace, we will have to understand this particular culture. And hence, extremely important that we come up with a system, or we have that kind of a mental system. No, I don't want to take this data. For example, if somebody wants to contact me and if I'm making a form on my website, I don't want to know what is your mobile number. All I need is your email ID so I can respond back to you, and I want your comments. I don't want anything additional. I don't want to know your gender, from which city, from which country, because I have to see what is he contacting me from. He must have been a victim, or that company or somebody would have been a victim and they want to get in touch with me. So I just need to know what has really happened, period. Nothing else matters in this case.
Thank you. Thank you. Just I want to tell the panel, we have a large number of MSMEs, SMEs, our members. Maybe there's one thing always concern them. I think I want to know that, do you think if this information security management framework is affordable for SMEs, and there is any need for industry organizations, the government, to do some assist them? Otherwise, how do they do the compliance of all this and still move forward online, sir?
Yeah, I will react
yes,
to that.
Mr. Navi, you can take this.
Yeah. You see, presently, industry is familiar with ISO 27001. They have now come up with an additional personal information management system under a separate framework called 27701. A little earlier, the BS standard 10012 had come. Fine. They are all respected frameworks. And tomorrow there will be even the community of ISACA, which will come out with another framework. But what happens when I am the CEO of a company, I have to finally write a check. If you say that you follow ISO, but the moment I ask you, what is there in ISO? You say, give me 3 lakhs, I will just tell you what is there in ISO. And if you want to have 27701, you have to buy that particular standard. And then you have to find a consultant to implement. That cost cannot be avoided. But the standard alone, being a priced publication, is something which has always irritated me. Okay, when something good has to happen to the society, we have to say this is what has to happen. Therefore, we need an open standard. So I am trying to look at an open information security standard specifically directed towards the Indian requirement, so that we are compliant with PDPA more than GDPR. See, there are many companies who are compliant with GDPR. They don't even remember there is an Information Technology Act in India for 20 years. And this PDPA is coming up. And when PDPA comes, the section 43A of information technology is going to be replaced. So PDPA is actually a continuation of the reasonable security practices which were there in ITA 2000 in a much larger framework. Now, companies need to understand that compliance with the law applicable to India may not be adequately covered in international frameworks. Therefore, we have to either customize those international frameworks to Indian requirements or try to develop our own indigenous frameworks. I am more inclined to developing an indigenous framework. That is what I have called as Personal Data Protection Standard of India, which takes into account all the best practices of the ISO and other things, but focuses more on PDPA requirements. If there is a difference between PDPA and GDPR, PDPA will talk about India. For example, Indian requirement requires every company to have what is called a DTS rating, Data Trust Score. It is mandatory for certain kinds of data fiduciaries. Now, that is not a requirement in ISO. I can get an ISO standard certificate with DTS, where you cannot get a PDPSI standard certificate without showing me either that you are not required to have DTS or this is the DTS. So that way there is going to be some difference. Industry, particularly IS specialists, have to come together and develop an indigenous standard. Just as now we are developing an indigenous Zoom, we need to also develop an indigenous standard. That is the only final solution. So I feel there is a lot of things which we need to do towards this side. Yeah.
Thank you, Navi. I have a question for Ritesh. Can you elaborate on the concept of dark web and the Tor browsers and how of these threaten the cyber security systems? You're a technocrat. You can really throw some light on this.
So, so far as darknet is concerned, let us like understand in a very, very layman language. You know, the internet, what we generally call as. So the entire space is divided into like I would say two parts or three parts. So one is the surface web. So you know, like the tip of the iceberg that you see, everything above the ocean. That's the reason we say we are surfing on the ocean. You know, we are let's initially when we used to start talking about internet, we would say let's surf on the internet. Why? So because that was on the top part of it. So that's just 4%. So what is this surface net? Whatever you see, like you see the Facebook, you see NDTV website, you see MMA website, and also that's the surface web. Below the surface web, which is now below the ocean, is the deep web. Now deep web is where the codes are. So how is the MMA website made? It must have been made using certain technology. There would be a database attached to it. So where is the database? Can a normal person through a normal browser just openly see it? No, he needs to log in. So everything, so like all these banking applications, these are part of the deep web. Now somewhere in the deep web, there is a small part. Now honestly, I cannot say whether it is small or it is micro or it is like really big. Now that part is called as the dark web. Now, why it is called dark? Because that you cannot access using your normal browser like Chrome or Safari or Firefox. You need something like a Tor browser. There has to be a Tor browser where you connect. Now, the pages that open up are simply are websites only, but they don't end in .com. They end in .onions, the kanda, the onions, you know. So, and they have very complicated URLs and all that. Now, the dark web was actually created, to have a lot of confidential communications, private communications, uh, those days in the US, within the Navy and all. But later on, they opened it up to the public, and so that whistleblowers and other things could happen. But unfortunately, what has happened? People, because of its strong, very super strong anonymity, they are being misused a lot. So in terms of misuse, one is a lot of drugs are being sold up over there, and people buy and they get like good quality drugs and other kind of things. But hackers have used it now to sell their exploits. So whatever exploits are there, or if a database has been breached, all that is sold over there. And you also have cyber criminals or hackers as a service. So if you want to attack some particular infrastructure or some website or hack somebody's account and all, so all these things are available over there. So the dark web is now mostly all nefarious for all nefarious purposes. All notorious elements are over there, and hence it's becoming quite dangerous. Now, to connect it with the common man, how does it affect the common man? Let us take an example of something called as a sextortion scam. Now, many of you would have received an email, okay, which would have ideally landed into your spam. And in that email, in the subject line, you would have got your password, a password which you have actually been using. And now the content of the mail would say, I know this is your password. Do not waste my time. I just want to give you 24 hours to pay me, let's say, $1,000, $3,000 in the Bitcoin. The Bitcoin address is given. And it says that I've installed a malware on your computer. And while you were watching pornography, I also switched on your camera and I saw what you were doing while you were watching pornography. And I've recorded the whole thing and I'm going to send it to your entire social media. So many people have got it and they have like panicked. This is happening since 3-4 years, but it has increased a lot since the past 10 days for the only reason because we are like, locked inside our homes, and honestly, the porn viewing has increased by 35%. But friends, understand, this is nothing but it's a scam. It's a pure scam. Whether you have watched it or you have not watched it, you would have got this email. Now you would say, but Ritesh, how did he get the password? Now this password, he got it because you had used this password on, let's say, a website like LinkedIn or Zomato, which had been breached. And those passwords were sold on the dark web. So now those criminals picked up that entire database of, let's say, 10 lakh, 15 lakh people, and they mass mailed the same content to everybody. Many of them, around 20% of them, got scammed and they actually paid. So please understand, nothing like this has happened. There is no malware, nothing to worry about it. So this is how darknet plays a role for the individual.
Super, sir. We have got number of questions. I will have one or two more questions with the panelists. Then I will go to the field where number of questions that come from different sources. This is my question to Mr. Navi. Given the challenges that the dark web presents, do you think we can handle the challenges legally, sir? What are the implications for this?
See, first of all, we should shed our diffidence in thinking that the dark web cannot be controlled. Okay, it should be controlled, and even if we are not 100% successful, we should try. Now, one way by which we can control this crime is to choke the commercial benefit of the working of the dark web. We know that now all these ransomware, all cyber criminals, they are asking for ransom to be paid in Bitcoins. Why? Because they don't want the payment to be traced to their bank accounts. So one of the first things the government of India has to do and has failed to do so far is the banning of Bitcoins. Even the Supreme Court has not understood the importance of banning the Bitcoins and the related cryptocurrencies, private cryptocurrencies, that will choke the dark web to the extent necessary. Then you attack things like Tor browser. It is all used for good things by security professionals, but why should it be freely available to anybody? You don't give guns and revolvers to everybody in the street just because they have got money. So Tor browser, if it can be downloaded freely, why should it be allowed to be given? So there has to be measures to make, let us say, Tor browser being held in the computer as something as an indicative of a problem, and you should get the license to download Tor browser. If a policeman sees a Tor browser in your computer, I want that to be a prima facie evidence. Ritesh is laughing. Yes, I am a person who would like that kind of an attitude to be developed towards cybercrime. We should not be soft on cybercrime. And in cyber security, what happens is 10% are the criminals, the 90% silent majority normally keep quiet because this is used, for example, forensics we talk of. Anti-forensics is something which needs to, which is gaining ground. All the forensic strategies are used by the criminals. So there has to be, like if you believe in gun licensing, you have to believe in licensing of certain security products, and that will only regulate the things. So choke the currency, then introduce measures to control this dark web usage, then perhaps you would be making a couple of steps forward. That is sufficient to improve our you can say cybercrime control, rather than fighting the cybercrime. When the person has used Tor browser and he has attacked somebody, nobody is able to identify him. You have paid in Bitcoins, nobody can identify where it has gone. How do we consider police being capable of doing investigations? There will be zero convictions if you don't control the technology.
Super, sir. So when you mentioned of banking, there's a question on this. With the focus on digital India, each passing day, new payment apps such as Paytm, Google Pay emerging. Since these are connected to bank accounts, how do we conclude which of these platforms are safe? This comes from one of our members who are watching the program on YouTube.
Yeah, can I answer that, please?
Yes, Mr. Ritesh.
Yeah. So you know, there's a lot of like competition in the digital wallet era also. So if you ask me which is the best, there's nothing like that. It is all about, you're asking which is the best only in terms of security. People download which is the best the moment they get an offer, okay, 50 rupees cashback, 10 rupee cashback and 20 rupee cashback, they just want to download it. Or, you know, I download it and send a message to everybody, okay, please download it and you will get 50 rupees cashback and even I will get 50 rupees cashback. But the thing is, as I said in the start, any new app or a device, you need to understand the security risk about it. Let's take an example. Yesterday only a driver got defrauded by 20,000 rupees, okay, because he had to use one of this app. Was it a fault of the, of the app in that case? No, it was primarily the fault of the driver who didn't understand how to use that app. So this particular thing, the criminals know very well. The moment an app is downloaded, they will try it amongst themselves try to transfer money, and try to fool each other as such. So they are doing this exercise so that they can fool us. Why aren't we doing this exercise with each other so that nobody can fool us? So this is something that's very important that we understand. Secondly, do not have too many apps. Okay, you just can't have one Paytm, a Phone Pay, a Google Pay, and Amazon Pay. You're comfortable with one. You have done KYC for one. Stick to that particular one. If a particular shopkeeper, a merchant says, look, I don't have for this, I don't have for this, I have for this. Nowadays, all the apps are also giving option that from Paytm, you can also pay to Phone Pay or something like that. But stick to one app, even if you have, and even if you have to go to the other app, please understand what is sending and receiving money in it. And lastly, please note one thing. To receive money, you don't have to enter your UPI PIN. The fraudsters are taking advantage of that only. That they will send you something, they will say, okay, I'm giving you 5,000 rupees or whatever because you have sold something on OLX and all, and this is the advance, and they will write the 5,000 to be credited, but actually the 5,000 is being debited from your account. So read those texts properly and don't enter a UPI PIN and neither share it. So this was a case which happened with Blue Dart yesterday. Somebody, it might have like he shared the details and the driver got the message, I'm calling from Blue Dart and you have to make a 5 rupee transaction and fill this form. When he opened up the Google form, the UPI PIN also he entered it over there. So please understand that we cannot. Yes, Captain.
Yeah, go ahead, sir. Go ahead. There's a question I thought maybe.
Yeah. So this is the thing that we really need to take care of certain things. So my personal suggestion would be like, for example, I use only and only Paytm. I'm not at all comfortable with Google Pay because I've seen Google Pay is also working on some other devices using my same ID. So ideally, a UPI-based payment should work only on the device which has my registered mobile number. So I'm just comfortable with that, and I'm not using others. Not that they are bad, but as long as you know how to receive money, and you cannot get defrauded, you have done enough drills with your partner or with your friend. Till then, just stick to one.
Lovely, sir. There's a question from Mr. Rajendran. Navi, you could briefly touch upon 27,001 and which has been included by the Ministry Expedition of RSP.
No, so 27001 is basically the security guidelines for the purpose of ensuring confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. Now, 27701 is an extension which addresses the privacy-related issues, which may bring in the additional concepts like consent management and so on. So that those two are the requirements of personal information security if you are adopting to information security standard as promoted by ISO 27 ISO authority. It is widely accepted, but when it comes to any crime or anything, it is not which standard which you have used, which framework which you have used, which is the ultimate thing which decides whether you are practicing reasonable security practice or due diligence. At that point of time, you have to prove that the managerial, organizational, or technical measures, policy measures which you had adopted were adequate to meet the risks as anticipated in the particular context. So the framework is immaterial. The effect of that framework in the context is important. That's why risk assessment is the basis of any implementation. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, what data is on the run? What are these chances that data is not stored or saved in a network in an unauthorized manner by a network device? How is it present law equipped to deal with such a cases actually?
See, current law, as I told you, is framed on the basis of, for example, if you take Information Technology Act, it only talks about the data and electronic documents. It doesn't worry about which device handles it. So even if it is an IoT device, if what IoT device is handling is electronic data. All existing laws are applicable to that. So whether it is a mobile, whether it is an artificial intelligence related algorithm, our law simply says you may call it as artificial intelligence, but there is a owner to this particular software that the whatever actions the artificial intelligence software or algorithm does is attributed to the person who owns it. So law does not want to spare anybody, and our Indian law is very clear. Even in terms of evidence of digital nature, our law is far ahead of international laws, because by adopting the section 65B of Indian Evidence Act, we are prepared to provide certified electronic evidence to the courts, even if you are using quantum computing. So our law has got certain positive features, and that will sustain the current ITA 2000 scenario, as well as the forthcoming PDPA. What PDPA does, which IT 2000 did not do, is to set up a data protection authority, give them the responsibility to monitor and take further action, which was actually going unnoticed in the ITA 2000.
Great, sir. There's a question for Ritesh. One of the members commented watching the live. Ritesh, I heard you handling that cab driver case yesterday. Fantastic approach. Kudos to you. In this regard, I want to ask you a question. Could you please share some insight on the most reported cybercrime by manufacturing, FMCG, or other firms, so that our members could be a little cautious when we deal with such cases?
Okay, so besides the ransomware that is quite happening a lot over here, I would want to focus on something called as the business email compromise scam, which the police calls it as the man in the middle attack. But let's stick to something as business email compromise scam, that is the BEC scam. So how this works, this is especially important for those ones like the CFOs and the ones who make the payment. You are sending an invoice to somebody, let's say your company, or you as a CFO, you're sending a invoice to, let's say, somebody in London, to your vendor, and the invoice reaches him, and it's let's say like 10,000 euros. So this is a real case I'm talking to you about. So that's like 10,000 euros over there. Now the person immediately gets another email, okay, saying, listen, the earlier bank details, please do not honor them. Please, this is the modified invoice and the bank details are appended. Because of this COVID lockdown, we are having issues in our bank in India, back in India. So kindly make the payment to somebody else, to some other bank account. And then they will give some of London branch or Hungary or Mexico or something. Let's take Mexico. Now your vendor over there actually transfers the money to Mexico. Now you keep following up, and the vendor says, look, I made the payment. And, you are like shocked that I have not received the payment. And the vendor says, look, here is the one to Mexico. He says, I never asked you to deposit in Mexico. So then he says, look, I have an email of yours. And that is when we come to know that, for example, if it is from Captain Vijay Kumar at Madras Management Association.org. Now in that, instead of that association, I make it association. Instead of N, I make it M. So this is where I buy a cousin domain. It's called as a cousin domain, which is looking like very similar. I buy a cousin domain and I come to know. Now, how did I come to know that you were sending emails? This is because of phishing. Somehow I was able to get your credentials and I was inside your email. I would see each and every incoming and outgoing mail of yours, but I would not act on it till you sent an invoice. The moment you sent an invoice, now using my cousin domain, I sent the same mail with the modified bank details. So this is the current trending crime for MSMEs. And you have to really understand that these are big. Your money cannot be recovered also. Of course, in very, very few cases, I would say in less than 1% of the cases, the money has been recovered, that too partly. So please ensure and tell your vendors that no matter what, my bank detail remains the same. And secondly, when you're sending the invoices, I'm assuming you would be sending it in PDF. Please password protect them and send them the password via WhatsApp.
Great, sir. We are going. I think we'll let you go another 10, 15 minutes. We got a number of questions. There's so much of anxious questions. I know. I am quite sure you will be happy to address the concern. There have been a frequent reports of some kinds of network attacks involving big corporates, like the recent attack on one of the major IT companies, which I don't name them, resulting in huge data loss and ransomware. In such a situation, ransomware is responsibly, I believe, paid by cryptocurrencies, which is completely beyond the control of RBI and other regulatories, and is never accounted for, nor even reported. How can we that this situation can be controlled or monetized or monitored? Maybe both. I know Navi and Ritesh, whoever you think.
No, see, my views are very, very clear in this. I have been waging a war against Bitcoins. That's why even the Supreme Court, I will not spare with their current decisions. Bitcoin is like your coronavirus. Okay, you let it come near you. It will. There is no virus at present. Virus is something which the government can bring in by way of legislation, but we have to maintain the social distance with Bitcoin. Unless you control the economy which supports the dark web and the criminals, you cannot control the cybercrime, because technology is so difficult to manage, because these criminals know more about technology than our CISO. So it will always happen. The zero-day vulnerabilities, if you are a manufacturing company, you would be ashamed to say that you have released some product which had zero-day vulnerabilities when it moved out of the factory. But IT people are not ashamed. They actually release software in beta version and let the market learn, and then say we will send a patch. If you don't update the patch, then it is your responsibility. So the companies which are releasing that zero-day vulnerability software should be ashamed of themselves, and they should be made to take the liabilities of the cybercrime. So, yeah, whatever way you want to do it, I say many of these companies are at least responsible. They will have some reward systems or bug bounty programs, but a lot of software companies don't even have bug bounty programs. So what kind of responsibility they are doing to the society? That is why controlling the dark web through banning of cryptocurrencies is one step. Then all the software people should be made liable for releasing zero-day vulnerability software. Then you will be somewhere near controlling these things. Maybe my words are not very palatable and to many people in the IT industry. I'm aware of that, but I'm talking of the society. This is where we have to talk about the attitude we have to develop. We cannot be soft on cybercrime, even if it hurts me. For example, today we are in lockdown situation. Not that every one of us is happy. We do it because that is the only way we can control the coronavirus. So therefore, similarly, self-imposed restrictions and responsibilities are essential to address these issues which we are seeing. Otherwise, cyber crimes will keep on galloping. Today, already it has crossed it. Drugs are being sold in the dark web. Arms are being sold in the dark web. This COVID itself has been used. People are offering blood plasma in the dark web, but lakhs of rupees. People are thinking that they're buying something genuine. So many people are losing money. It's not only this bank-related frauds. In many other things, they're importing, they're making payment for COVID, you can say tablets. So unless we realize that solution is there, solution is not in merely making people aware. Awareness is the very first step, necessary step. But today what is happening is everybody is focusing only on awareness. There is something beyond awareness. That is, that has to make the intermediaries part of the liability chain. If you don't do it, then this cyber crime can never be controlled.
There's another question from, I think, they want to know what are the lessons learned from MH and FW from Kerala sprinkler case, Ministry of Health and Family. Are you aware of this? If you can share some light.
This is a very important example which has come after the Personal Data Protection Act has come. Right now, no data breach has happened. Okay, I'm not looking at the political implications of some favored party has been given a contract. That is not my concern. The government has given a contract to Sprinkler to process COVID patients' data. which even in the current law is a sensitive personal information. When PDPA comes, perhaps it is even more, it's even critical information. Now this information, there is a principle called de-identified information being processed. So the Kerala government should have handed over only de-identified information to this particular company for whatever statistical processing they were supposed to do, and kept the identity of the information with themselves. But they did not do that. They opened a web form directly in the Sprinkler website. People started giving the information there. Now they have changed it, but the sensitive personal data was transferred out of India. So there were a lot of potential violations of a personal data protection principle. So in fact, today CERT-In has started some inquiry on this particular thing. And though PDPA has not come into effectiveness in India today, by extending this reasonable security practice under 43A, it is possible for CERT-In and the court, when it has the next hearing, to actually impose penalties on this company for having accepted and processed information without appropriate security measures. The problem is with the Kerala government. Problem is also more with Sprinkler, because Sprinkler says, I know everything about GDPR. Kerala government doesn't know about GDPR. So Sprinkler should have told Kerala government, please don't give me identified information. You please give me only de-identified information. That is sufficient for me. You ask NIC or somebody to de-identify.
So you are unmuted, Mr. Navi. You have muted your thing. Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
The recipient of the data, if he is more knowledgeable, should advise the giver of the data. That is what Indian government has done in PDPA by calling these people data fiduciaries, not data controllers. A data controller will only ask you, please tell me what I should do with your data, I will do it. That is a master-servant relationship. PDPA has adopted a data principal and a data fiduciary relationship, and I am supposed to know more about data protection. So if you are a data principal from a village, you don't know about privacy, you don't know what is a privacy policy, but you are willing to give information to me, then it is my responsibility to explain to you, this is called Privacy Act. This is how you have to protect your privacy. So don't give me all this information. Give me only that information which is required for whatever service which you are giving. So this responsibility of the data fiduciary was cast both on Sprinkler as well as on Kerala government. They have failed to put that trusteeship kind of a role and handled it in a very casual manner. We have to see how this High Court will react to this in the next hearing. And CERT-In also should look at this and come up with a proper report which the court may use. And they should somehow bring in this forthcoming PDPA as due diligence. As of today, everybody knows this is what is going to be the law. So it is due diligence and reasonable security practice. CERT-In, I hope, will make use of that. Then it is an excellent starting point for PDPA kind of awareness which India has to build up.
There's a question from Mr. Dinesh Saravanan to Mr. Ritesh. My question to Ritesh is that, is there any inbuilt option to store our data in the mobile safe, or storing data in mobile is to be avoided because all our data are known to everybody?
Okay, so let's understand a very basic thing, that the gallery has all the very, very important things. The contacts have a lot, now that is something. So when you install an app, what is really happening? The app has access to certain applications of yours. The app has access to your gallery. The app has permissions to access your contacts and your text messages, which means what? The developer over there is able to see everything. So let's imagine MMA comes to us and MMA says, make an app for all our members. So Captain Vijay Kumar tells me, Ritesh, just make an app. I will just create an app and I'll ask you, okay, what permission should I take? You will say, no, you take whatever you think is right. You are a technical guy. I'll say, okay, so I take permission to your SMS, to your contacts, permission to the gallery, and permission to the storage. Now, back in my office, my developer team can see the contacts of all your members, whoever has installed the app. So let's say one member, let's say Mr. Navi. So Navi sir's contacts I can see, Navi sir's images I can see, all gallery related. Maybe I can access the storage and I can. So understand that if it is required, then I as a developer can misuse it. You as an MMA can ask me to misuse it or use it. You know, we don't know, and this is what happens, like a surveillance kind of a thing or a profiling kind of a thing. So please understand, anything that's sensitive, we cannot have it. Why the cases of sextortion are rising, especially amongst the teens and the youngsters? For the only reason because they are storing their intimate moments, they're storing their nudes over there. Take an example. A woman goes into a shopping mall or you know, she wants to buy a dress, she goes into the trial room, she takes a picture and sends it to her husband or a spouse and saying, do you think this is looking good? So please understand at that point of time, the picture that you have taken is just not your spouse, it is many more people who have it. And that is the same mistake we do with our credit cards and debit cards. We take the photographs of our debit card and credit cards, we store it over there. We take our passwords and put it, we store it in contacts or in notes. Access to all this has happened. So a real case that has happened was there was a particular lady who sold her mobile phone online, okay, on a very famous e-commerce portal, and she exchanged it. So when she, you know, exchanged it, she actually deleted all the data and she purchased a new phone. Now, the one who took the old phone of her means he actually recovered all the data, and that in that data there was also a video of hers with her own husband in a sexual act, and then he started blackmailing her like anything. So these are like real instances that are happening, real incidents that are happening. So let's understand what is sensitive data and why we are not supposed to put it up over here. So I hope that answers, that gives you shivers.
Super. Yeah, great. Yes, I think it's a great thing. Maybe that's one of the reason MMA will not put any app. We want everybody to come and do it.
Unless you can have an app and not take permissions, and still the app can work.
Yes, yeah, we have to make it very. I agree. There is also another question come from Mr. Narayan Ganeshan. We keep receiving unsolicited business calls, SMS, in spite of having a registered DNC registry. How does this database marketing go unchecked by the regulatory authorities? As consumer, what can we do? We are helpless at this moment. I also get a lot of calls. No, though I am DNC. What is the solution to this? You are the expert in this. Navi, you would like to take?
Legally, this is a computer contaminant under Information Technology Act because it degrades your system. So there is a section 43 contravention under Information Technology Act, provided the IT secretary, who is the adjudicator, takes up my argument. Okay. Otherwise, we have to wait for the Personal Data Protection Act to come, and then the DPA will definitely look into this. There will be a separate adjudicator also. So even if you may not get too much of compensation, because compensation is only based on what loss you have suffered. So you have to say mental harassment and that kind of a thing. But when the DPA comes, irrespective of the mental harassment, which may be valued at 1 rupee or 100 rupees, they may put the responsibility for non-compliance to the particular organization, and that will be a deterrent for future.
Great, sir. We have got another few minutes. Is it okay with I think we got a couple of more questions. Can you handle for another 5 minutes? Can we extend it?
I have no problem.
Both okay.
Sure.
Great, super, sir. Now the next question is, while AI can prevent frauds more efficiently, can it also be misused? Maybe Ritesh, would like to take this technology?
Yeah, I didn't get your question.
While AI, artificial intelligence, can prevent fraud, AI frauds more efficiently, can it also be misused?
Oh, absolutely. AI has been misused, and the best example was just recently. I mean, few months back, you know, a CEO, a CFO rather, he got a call. He was UK based, and he got a call from his boss who was in Germany. And the boss told him, listen, I want you to transfer certain money And he also said, okay, how are you and how are things and everything. And he was speaking in his German accent. And this CEO over here in UK, he actually transferred the money. Uh, Later on, it was found that the German boss had not called at all. Then what was this? Was somebody mimicking the German boss's voice? No. The AI had, developed itself to speak exactly like the German boss. So the fraudsters just put a script in front, they just fed a script to the AI machine. The AI machine makes a call and he talks, and the accent and annotations and everything, the sound, the pitch, everything was of that German boss, but it was a machine talking to him. So this is what AI has done. Second thing is deep fakes. What are deep fakes? Just imagine there is an anchor who's talking and all that. And now this is the same anchor. He's saying certain words which he's not supposed to. This is something like a morphing or this thing you would say a face imposition. No, the artificial intelligence machines, they are able to get each and every feature of your face, of your eye, the moment like you say hello. So what happens when you say her, hello, or what happens to the eye? And they're able to reproduce exactly the same thing. So the sound is his, the face is his, but the words are of something else. Go and look, just Google Barack Obama deepfake video. The third thing is, I would say, are deep nudes. What are deep nudes? Again, this is AI. It takes an image of a lady. I'm specifically talking about a lady because it works best on the ladies one. And hence, and what it does is it will take the image of the particular lady, and within few seconds, it will give you the exactly same image with the same background, everything, but the lady is completely nude. And this is my concern about the sari challenge. Why do you want to enter into a sari challenge? Because you're giving a full length picture of yours. And these are three common crimes being done by AI.
Great eye opener. I wish all of us get to know, and we keep going to the shop, keep posing for pictures. The next question is from one of the students. What he wants to know is, what are the career opportunities in cybersecurity for technical and non-technical persons? I think it'll be immensely benefit large number of people with the way the COVID is happening. I don't think they're going to get a job in the manufacturing sector. Maybe it'll help them, sir. Your thoughts on this, Navi, as well as Ritesh? Both technical, non-technical. You want to know
the very fact that so many concerns about security are coming up, obviously there has to be somebody to handle it. So cyber security jobs will keep growing. In fact, for the last several years, we have been saying that India requires 5 lakh people, etc. We don't have anybody. Now, this new Data Protection Act will bring up one more career opportunity for data protection officers, who may be less technically skilled than the CISOs, but they need to have more of managerial skills, some legal skills. So if somebody is non-technical, they can look at opportunities which are coming up as DPOs. If they are technical, of course, there are already opportunities in the information security. They can also look at the data protection area as an addition, but they have got both opportunities open to them. If they are non-technical, look at more of data protection area. You will have plenty of opportunities, employment opportunities, whether there is COVID or not. So you can shift into that at any point of time.
Super, sir. Now,
okay, Captain, I would want to
please add on, please. Yes.
Yes. While see, let's understand that cybersecurity, there is no regulation as such for cybersecurity. But as far as the data privacy thing is concerned, there is going to be a regulation. There's going to be compliances, but which is not mandatory for cybersecurity as such. I mean, it is mandatory, but in non-banking financing and NBFCs, but not in other industries as such. And hence, I feel the opportunities and the scope is much, much more, I would say 10 times more than in data protection than what it is in cybersecurity. So being a cybersecurity person, I'm myself upskilling to get into the data privacy domain and use this lockdown period to upskill. The another benefit of data privacy is that it is like really not so technical and not even so legal, especially if you're if you can do a class with Navi sir, he explains it in the most lucid layman fashion. And if you can do that particular join FDVPI or do that particular course, you will understand that it's like really simple, and it's something that is definitely going to enhance your skills. But whereas cybersecurity is a lot more technical also. So all those, even whether you're techies or non-techies, do consider this, because there is going to be a real shortage of data protection officers in India.
I understand. Now you do run a college on cybersecurity, so people can log into your thing and get more data.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we'll move to the next question. I'll take two more last questions before we let you go. I think you all wife must be ready, waiting for your lunch. Let me. The next question is: data loss is a primary concern of the user, or the owner of the data, or the regulator concern, or a national concern? Who is actually responsible for data loss?
Personally, of course, the data principal is the prime person who has to, it should be his concern. The data fiduciaries and processors, they have to be concerned because they may be ending up paying huge fines. National security is only for the purpose of regulating the country's requirements. So in that order, all are having concerns, and everybody has to address it at their particular level.
Great, sir. Super. Now, I want to ask another question to Ritesh. What do you think is a big risk to organizations that have implemented more than reasonable security practices and tools? It's always, what is limit, upper limit? Every time we think something new comes, upgrade. What do you think? Where do we stop, sir? What is the level we do that?
No, there is no level. I mean, whatever security, if you see, the criminals are always outsmarting you. They're always outsmarting. I always say that they are always 10 steps ahead of you. And why are they 10 steps ahead? Because that is their job, that is their business, to keep continuously hacking you. But like MSMEs and other enterprises, they, all of them cannot like 24 hours keep securing themselves. They do not have that kind of, like how large companies have all, a separate department and a budget for it. The other MSMEs don't have it. But if you're asking me about the threat, what other threats are there, even if they have implemented, it's an insider threat and the third party. These two things are often ignored, especially the third party related. So it's very important to focus on, continuous, because if awareness is also the key, like let's say with the large IT company also, whatever ransomware happened over there, it was because of a phishing email. So had there been an awareness, more than an awareness, phishing drills. Phishing drills are very, very important. And I would say random audits of the machine. And not only of the employees, but also of the third party. So according to me, these two risks are far bigger than the external risk.
Good, sir. I want to squeeze in 3 more questions before another 2 minutes I have. Let's have a rapid fire. Quickly, can all ethical hackers be relied on? Professor Narayan's questions.
No.
No, good. There's a question also from Reena. How can one transition into cybersecurity professional's role, given being a GDPR area as an implementer with a service delivery background? Yes, what is that?
I would suggest get into the data privacy role instead. More scope, more focus.
Great, sir. I think we had a fascinating information because they know into cybersecurity. And before last question, I want to ask, I always get worried because I hear so much. When the ransom is asked, as a guy, the company head, what, you should pay the ransom and go away, or what should he do actually?
See, if you pay the ransom, are you sure that the data will be returned to you? You can never trust the criminal, and he may immediately return the data today and wait for another 3 months or 6 months and have a second attack. So giving money today will not solve your problem. You have to, and also you should not encourage this ransom payment. So probably you have to find solutions elsewhere. But if you are a CEO, then it is a tough call, because the mistake has already happened, either because you don't have a backup, a proper backup, or you have not prevented the ransomware attack. So it is a past thing. You can do very little. And maybe Ritesh has got a different viewpoint.
Yes, Ritesh, one final call before we close. Yes, please.
No, it all depends upon like if the company is that data like really worth? Can you put in additional resources, and recreate the data in half the amount or even in less than that? If you can do that, please do that rather than paying up over there. This is what I would say.
Thank you so much, sir. There is no end to conversation on digital security and cyber security. Thank you, Ritesh, and thank you, Navi. It's been a great inspiration listening to you. You have been patient enough to ask so many questions. Still, I have a lot of questions, but we already exceeded the time limit more than 15 minutes. So we'll have, we'll really request you to do more often MMA with such activities so that people really are aware, because when you're going online digital, is really very useful to him. I also thank all the viewers, especially Pan Srinivasan and Rajendran, and also Manu, who are there, who have been a great support to us for watching this program till end. I want each one of you to give a thumbs up to both the speakers who have shared their views so illustratively and so fantastically. I think as a way of appreciation, please do that, and it's a way of encouragement. Thank you for joining live on various sources, whatever we are, and we are bringing you some lovely programs. In case if the program is open to everybody, you can watch it through our webinar, YouTube or Facebook. Log into our website, you will know what all the programs we are doing. And thank you also joining us on Zoom. We also got some insight. Zoom is safe, not to worry. If you are download Zoom, do come and join. Thank you, Ritesh. Thank you, Navi. It's been a fantastic interacting with you, working with you. Thanks so much, and have a great day, sir. Goodbye till we meet again.
Thank you.
See you. And be
Thank
safe.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.